Um, anyways, I didn't know I would be getting into this, um, and I'm really at a huge loss of psychological masculinity right now. I moved to Santa Barbara. I hang out in Montecito, and if you don't know Montecito, just do a search on it to educate yourself. And there's just a really high level of sophistication in this county. And so my biological dad is from Bakersfield, and that's where I was born. I was born in Bakersfield, California. And after high school, I was going into bathrooms and truck stops and bushes at nude beaches looking for men. And I didn't know subconsciously that I was looking for my dad, but I was, having a lot of sexual exploits with men in public, and I couldn't even concentrate in school at that time, and I couldn't hold down a job. And my mind was just always hijacked by thinking that I needed sex, I needed some type of physical embrace. And I didn't know, like I'm saying, that I was in search for my dad. I was also in search for a family. I was in search for a brother that I never had. And just seeking my psychological masculinity. And so fast forward, I'm 43, I'm living in Santa Barbara, and my dad visited me with his second wife, and I've never really accepted her because my dad basically likes tramps. He likes whores, and he can't keep his zipper up. And I didn't know that my dad was having affairs when we were children, but somehow in my homosexuality, I've been looking for my dad. So in some type of twisted arrangement, it's rather literally incestual. So this is something that came to my forefront through some therapy, and of course reading Sigmund Freud and all of his work in psychoanalytical, uh, you know, schools of thought. And when my dad moved my mother and I to the Central Coast, that was Pismo Beach, San Luis Obispo County, my dad told us that he would be speaking to his college that he worked at, that he would be putting a leave in, so that because he needed to be with us. And that never happened. My dad started having an affair with this woman by the name of, I don't think I'm supposed to give the name, but I never really accepted her. And so, like I'm saying, fast forward, just the breakdown of the family is something I've never gotten over. And so my dad visits me, and for the very first time, I just said to my dad, I said, when you and mother divorced, my sister and I, we needed you. And my dad told me I was delusional. And I told him that I've never been able to give you grandchildren because I'm gay, and that's one of my losses as a man, that I couldn't make a father out of myself, and that you would be a grandfather and be very proud of me. And he said that I'm delusional, and he said that I'm thinking too much. And I says, well, I have a lot of hatred and anger in my heart for you, and I'm having a hard time forgiving you. And he told me that that didn't matter, and he didn't care. And so I've been kind of settling with that in myself, and I'm in this PhD program, and I'm trying to do better for myself. I work very hard to stay off of drugs. I work very hard to stay, in the books, so my eyes aren't going to the streets looking for love. And I try really hard to not let the previous male hustling and prostitution haunt me. And it's very difficult being a man in this situation. And I'm just kind of putting it out there. I've reached out to John Travolta. I've reached out to Richard Simmons, um, maybe to be mentored or to help me produce a show so I can help other men. And I just, I, you know, um, I wrote him this letter, and I said, the only reason your wife says you're wonderful and loves you is because You pay for everything and have lots of money. Your affection is for her because she masturbates your ego and makes you perfect when you know she divorced Dwayne. Oh, she divorced her first husband and pursued this entanglement with you when you were still married to Mother, and you call it love. You defend your second wife as one with you in marriage, but wasn't that what you had with my mother, my sister, and me? You see, you are a nice guy, and somebody used you for your money, and you got sold out to what you say is really loyal to yourself because you think that you're in love with this woman, and it's at the expense of your children, ever not ever even knowing you, Dad. When you were ushering at a church, I was sitting by your soon-to-be second wife, and she told me that when she found out that you drove a Jaguar, that you were the man for her. And I thought, well, at the expense of my mother, and my sister and myself? Dad, you utterly insult me and will not destroy me with your blinded faith that she was not the last straw that killed the camel's back in my family. Your life is cruel, and that is why I changed my name to Tyler Lord Hamilton. She loved you from the start, this second wife, because she was jealous of my sister and me. You did not protect your love for my biological mother, my sister, and myself, and your success of money sold us out from having you. Your second wife is a distraction from you even seeing your homosexuality and hatred toward women. You are a fake, and she gives you a hard-on because she is a little girl and you like tramps and whores, and I never accepted her in your life because she is what let you get away with depriving your kids of you. So listen, he's rich, he's white, he's Reaganomics, he's oblivious, he's a dumbass, business and money over family, and this country is about the betrayal of family, it's about the fatherlessness, it's run by predators, perpetrators that steal fathers from mothers, that steal fathers from children, and even the gay culture is trying to seek straight men and get them away from their families because gay men are so selfish and are destroying families. And I'm just putting this out there that in the loss of psychological masculinity as men, we need to stand by one another in ending these crimes of heart because they are directly linked to things like even human trafficking. So I said my piece, and I don't know if this is kind of an autobiographical sketch, this video portrayal, but I have to put this person behind me, and he has murder in his heart for my mother. I've had nightmares of him slashing my wrists when I asked him to look at my resume because I want to succeed. He doesn't want me to become more successful financially than him. He's jealous of that. And that comes up with father-sons relationships in the men's psychology and the male psychology and the men's studies that you can find out there in the literature about fathers and sons. And I've had a really hard time standing alone. And I want to help men know that they don't have to go toward their prostitution. They don't have to go toward their porn addiction. They don't have to go toward their perverted other men that are associating them with pedophilia and bestiality and crystal meth and drinking and alcohol. I want people to know that they can stand for a world coalition against human trafficking, against the fatherlessness, and together as men, we can come forward and say our piece. And once we've made the confrontations to are fathers that are afraid to share their lives with their wives and their children because they're afraid of incest, that they don't know how to love. As men, we need to teach men that you can love your children and not be afraid to love your children in a healthy way where it isn't incest. And you can trust that you know how to love and you know how to be there for your child. Because people are hurting due to the money system. And it's such a breakdown of psychological masculinity. And for many men, the grief that they have is that they don't have children of their own that will take care of them when they get older. And our fathers are not there to become grandfathers because of us. And as men that are gay, we have a lot of loss. And we need to dialogue and converse about what parts of our homosexualities are linking us to seeking an escape so that we find our dads, and where that fine line is between incest and not being incest. And so, men, I struggle with feeling like a woman, and I've dressed up like a prima donna, and my dad's called me a homo. He's very derogatory, and other people have made fun of me, but it's been my feminized masculinity because of the post-feminist movement, because my mother was a strong woman, and I needed my dad, and my dad wasn't there. And so my cross-dressing or my transgenderism has been a distortion of my psychological masculinity, and I've been looking for a man that will treat me like a woman. And in that, I have found very sick men, and it was never a cultivation of my psychological masculinity. And I would like men to know that if you're hurting, you can look within yourself and travail just for a moment, for a period, and get all that pain out. And you can rebuild your life, and you can learn what it means to be a man, even if you're alone, and you have a father that's afraid of you. You have a father and a mother that hated one another, and they didn't want to send you on your way so that their children would create children for them. Men, you've had a lot of privilege taken away from you. And to gain that privilege back, I want you to know you don't have to go toward lying. You don't have to go toward promiscuity. You don't have to go toward porn addiction. You don't have to go toward pedophilia or predators or stalkers or men that are going to try to violate you and take from you because you're cute or because you have something to give. Men, I like for you to be strong in yourself that you can avoid destruction. You could make your life a documentary, a memoir. At the age of 7, I saw my dad trying to murder my mother. All my life I've been intimidated by his money. I've been trying to prove to myself that he's my hero. He's not my hero. He went off with other women. He probably even murdered somebody. And so I have pursued abusive men looking for my dad. I've been raped. I've been robbed. I've been violated. And I'm hurting. But I'm beginning to heal by coming out to the world and telling the world that they don't have to resort to the deprivation, to the humiliation, to the brutality, to the dehumanization of what homosexuality, misplaced love, with wrong behaviors can do. There's nothing wrong with being gay, but there's something wrong with a culture and a behavior. If you think it's okay to be a prostitute, if you think it's okay to pursue men sexually and be thinking about your dad, or to be pursuing only older men, and subconsciously you need a father figure, and you're not getting it except expensive meals. My dad accused me of wanting his little bit of money, and I said, I don't want your money. I wanted you to love my mother, but you were distracted by another woman because she was jealous of us, and you were a good guy, and Satan came in and robbed the beauty of a nuclear family. The truth that an orientation family is a very perfect ingredient, maybe almost more perfect than the church, or social policy, or public administration, or legislature, or civilian group lobbyists, or even a priest, or even a government, or a power elite, or even a well-paid job. If you don't have the love of family, one's life, high statistically, is in the streets, incarcerated, unemployed, drug addict, prostitute. I want you to know that for all you men in the gay culture, and even in the straight culture, if you're fatherless, we can stand together and create a psychological masculinity, a world coalition of leaders that are against human trafficking. I know we can do it. I've had nightmares after nightmares of my dad picking up my mother with she's wearing a black Armenian lace dress, and she's dead, and he murdered her. I've had dreams where I looked into their master bedroom and I saw my mother dead on the bed, and my dad was sleeping sound asleep because he murdered her. And when he'd awaken, I couldn't ask too much from him because he would murder me. People, we have a world of violence, a world of violation, a world of sexual violence. And because you men are finding other men that are letting you be sexually liberated, and there's nothing wrong with sexual liberation, there's nothing wrong with same-gender marriage, but in a certain behavior where there is a tainted love, and you're really not getting something that's eternally feeding you and helping you in your humane life sustainability. Please take note that there are direct correlations to human trafficking here. Together as men, I am your advocate for gay men against human trafficking, Tyler Lord Hamilton, and I wish you faith and never give up on your hope and your dreams. You're creative, you live on purpose, and you don't have to violate people. You don't have to learn to lie. You don't have to cultivate hatred in an ongoing culture of ongoing hatred, a cheating culture, mind you. You don't have to be deceptive. You could be a man of your word, and you could be a true form of psychological masculinity. God bless you in all that you do, and may Satan open all the right doors for you and not keep those doors closed. As the Psalm 23 says, that he will create a banquet before you in front of your enemies. May Satan find honor in you. May the rulers of evil and satanic activity to hurt you not violate you. May they favor you. May the godly favor you. May the good and the evil, the north and the south, the east and the west, find favor with you as a man of integrity, a man that stands against human trafficking. Dankeschön. I love you. I wanted to have a continuation of some of the things that I've talked about. It's early evening, and I haven't been able to get past some of the things. I know I left on a very bright note, talking about God and how He prepares a table before us among our enemies, and how that those of the dark side can find favor with those of righteousness. And I believe in God, but I also believe in the forces of evil that are very much so creating a lot of my problems. I try to keep my lectures not about myself, and they kind of get on the fringe of self-actualization, so I have to speak about myself. And I could, dress up and wear my bow tie and my cufflinks and give you a presentation. But sometimes the heart is so heavy that it's very difficult to get the self together. And I don't know, but this picture here is from Carol Burnett, the American actress and comedian. And she wrote me and wished me much love and success and many congratulations. And this Julio Iglesias, of course, and wished me the best of luck and love. And so I reach out a lot to different celebrities, and I just can't seem to find victory after my grieving. And I counsel men and always say it gets better. Sometimes it gets worse. And because I've been a somewhat of a observant, participatory human subject in the lives of gay culture, that I have observed a lot of men have problems with having an absent father or a strong woman in their lives, and this letting women walk all over you because you're a nice guy and your mother taught you to be tamed and to fall under women's power. And a lot of men are very emasculated and hurting. And I have found just behaviors and whoredom on a very large scale among men, and there are direct cultural links to human trafficking. And when man pursues his whoredom, specific to our fathers that are ashamed to be honest about this with their sons, the horror kind of shows up on a silver platter for our dads. And there's a lot of bimbos and wild women that don't care if the man is married. And that's what destroyed my family, next to greed and corruption. A lot of satanic forces. And the children out there are very troubled today. And they need men to speak up about this. That our fathers need to be held accountable, even if horror is brought to them on a silver platter. Trust is very important. And statistically, a lot of people that are at churches are single. And it's because they're sick and they have trust issues. And our mothers and our women can be total bitches in the culture, and they actually like it. It's very sexual for them. It's disgusting. And they want to get laid. And if they don't get laid, they end up finding a way to rape or abuse a man. And when our fathers are made fun of because they didn't fight back, our fathers are really better off just leaving their wives and being with a whore. So whores are very attractive in the society that we live. But they're not right. You must understand this. Dads get used by whores. And dads have a hard time knowing how to be self-protective and preserve their families and the special bonds that they have with their children and their wives. Instead of families dissipating and living ruins of divorce for children under post-traumatic stress, and all they want is trust and love, and they don't want to be sold out into sex slavery or do prostitutional things to make extra money. We as men have a social responsibility in the gay culture to help families not be torn apart. And we must try to put the pieces back together. Whether they're gay, straight, families, whatever. We can't allow men to do a little sweet dance around whores and those that are masturbating the economic egos of our fathers, or even of other men that might not be our fathers, because maybe you are fatherless and your dad is dead or something like that. Just because the whores can get money out of our dads or out of our men doesn't mean us men have to be feminized and allow women to walk all over us or our fathers because of money. Adults, not just children, but adults need love and guidance. And I'm not talking about street guidance. And I'm not talking about guidance on how to suck cock to prove to your man that it's not a chore so you can keep him and he doesn't go off looking for a whore. Talking about virtues and morality. Talking about loyalty. I've worked very hard to achieve what I have, and I have a lot to lose. Because of this, I call it social emergency for men, and not having any men willing to stand by men unless they can get sex. And that's not what we're looking at. Brings me to a place where I feel like I could burn everything, and even my resume, even all my media, and shave my head and become a swami. The American society, at such a breakdown, makes me feel that the American society is that worth rejecting and not being in it, be going off to a convent or a monastery or a Vedanta temple, and to be narcissistic in my spiritual guidance of self. And there is a narcissism there, to show the world that I'm a swami and a guru. Of course, I'm proving to the world I'm Tyler Lord Hamilton. Whether I'm a Swami or whether I'm Tyler Lord Hamilton, there's this proving the self. And when you have love in your family and you've cultivated it in your relationship and there's full trust and loyalties, you don't have to go off and do anything like be a Swami or be Tyler Lord Hamilton or be a celebrity, because you have true freedom, don't you? I have a dear friend. She comes from the samurai bloodline in Japan. Her family lives in Japan, partial family, in penthouse living, very affluent. And her mother came from a white glove society. When she came to America, men would laugh with her and giggle and look at her breasts. And the daughter, my friend, became very angry at her mother for letting her mother be cheapened by American society. They thought that they needed to be cheapened in order to sustain their life in America. Be cautious, no matter the race. Hold black people accountable for them being whores. It's not about civil rights anymore, that they need to be protected. They have plenty of rights. But there's a lot of whoredom even among the black culture. Men need to be held accountable on the cheapening of women, such as my Japanese example, or even other races, or a gay culture. Please live right. You know right from wrong. You know satanic forces from heavenly celestial realities in higher realms. Have a strong heart. Do good. I can't remember the psalm, but I wrote this music to a psalm of King David, and it goes like this. My soul finds rest in God alone. My salvation comes from Him. He alone is my rock and my salvation. My life is found in Christ. I changed that to Jesus Christ. Find rest for my soul in God alone. My salvation comes from Him. He alone is my rock and my salvation. My soul finds rest in Christ. My soul finds rest in Christ. Okay, with the fatherlessness and displaced love and whoredom and problems around human trafficking, which is a men's issue, and men haven't really come out and advocated against this. Study the life of Christ, the human Christ, the Jew, but also the metaphysical Christ that died for us and forgave us and taught us that we can forgive those that have trespassed against us. And thus, so, a banquet is made before you in the presence of your enemies, and you would not be harmed. God bless.